Good day. Imagine this for a moment. It is a Friday evening, the rain is doing that very British thing where it is not quite committing, the lights are glowing behind steamed-up windows, and inside your local pub someone is laughing too loudly at a joke that was never that funny to begin with. The darts board is crooked, the carpet has seen things it will never emotionally recover from, and yet somehow it all feels perfect. That, right there, is Britain. Or at least it used to be. Because right now, while you are ordering a pint, a very different drama is unfolding in Westminster. A drama where spreadsheets matter more than bar stools, and where the humble pub is being treated less like a national treasure and more like an inconvenient expense. Welcome to the Labour government's quiet but brutal war on Britain's boozers. Quick favor before we dive headfirst into this. If you are enjoying British Mirror and you want sharp takes without the snooze button, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. Most viewers still have not subscribed. It is free, takes a second, and it keeps this channel alive. Thank you if you just did. Now, back to the show. Pubs are not just places that sell beer. They are where job offers are made on beer mats, where birthdays are celebrated, where funerals are planned, and where lonely people go just to feel human for an hour. Strip them away, and you do not just lose a business, you lose a heartbeat. Yet this Labour government seems determined to squeeze that heartbeat until it flatlines. Let us start with the so-called jobs tax. Sounds friendly, doesn't it? Almost like something that creates jobs. In reality, it did the opposite. Rachel Reeves, in her very first budget as Chancellor, raised employer national insurance contributions. The result? It became around £800 more expensive to employ a single worker. £800. For a multinational, that's loose change down the back of the sofa. For a pub running on thin margins, that's the difference between hiring a new bar staff member and telling your existing team to work double shifts and smile through the exhaustion. Predictably, businesses did not react by throwing a party. They stopped hiring. Some started firing. Unemployment ticked up, not because people suddenly forgot how to work, but because the government made work more expensive. Hospitality, retail, leisure, the very sectors that keep town centers alive after 5 in the evening, were hit hardest. It's like deciding to revive the high street by kicking it in the shins and acting surprised when it falls over. Now, if that wasn't enough, along came the energy bills, or to be more precise, the energy bills turbocharged by Labour's net zero obsession. Every pub landlord in the country can tell you the same story. The lights, the fridges, the heating, the kitchen, all essential, all now eye-wateringly expensive. Running a pub is starting to feel less like hospitality and more like sponsoring a small power station. And while ministers talk loftily about targets and timelines, publicans are staring at invoices and wondering which corner they can cut next without shutting the doors entirely. At this point, hope was in short supply. Then came the next budget. Rachel Reeves stood at the despatch box and offered what sounded like a lifeline. Permanently lower business rates, she said. Help for businesses. A promise that seemed for a fleeting moment to acknowledge reality. Pubs across the country dared to breathe out. Maybe, just maybe, Westminster had finally listened. Then the small print arrived, and it unraveled faster than a cheap bar towel. The truth was not lower rates, but 3 years of hikes. 3 years, with the average pub facing a staggering 74% increase overall. For some venues, it was even worse. This was not a tweak. It was not a gentle nudge. It was a massive tax hike that shoved pubs straight into the red, and then had the audacity to ask why they were bleeding. Let us be clear. This is not about paying a fair share. This is about being priced out of existence. When your business rates shoot up by that amount, you don't simply absorb it. You raise prices, cut staff, reduce opening hours, or close, sometimes all four. The pub doesn't quietly disappear. It goes dark, the windows are boarded up, and the high street loses another reason for people to visit. After relentless pressure from the Conservatives and a furious backlash from industry leaders who were understandably horrified, the government is now preparing a screeching U-turn. And honestly, who's surprised? This government has flip-flopped so often it should come with a warning label. Keir Starmer talks tough, but when the pressure rises, he folds faster than a deck chair in a storm. His Chancellor is no better. The U-turn, we are told, is coming. Details pending, always pending. But even before the announcement lands, the problems are obvious. First, many pubs are still likely to face significant increases in their bills. Vague promises of support are political comfort blankets. They look nice, but they don't actually keep you warm. There is no guarantee, none at all, that any measures will offset the full impact of these hikes. Second, the fix may only apply to venues officially classed as pubs. That sounds reasonable until you remember how modern hospitality works. Gastropubs, hotel bars, pubs with rooms upstairs. Many of them may miss out entirely. Same role in the community, same struggles, but sorry, you ticked the wrong box on a form. And it doesn't stop at pubs. Shops, restaurants, cafes, all still staring down the barrel of crippling rate increases. Business rates are rising across the board, up 10% in the coming year alone. That's a £3.5 billion blow to businesses. £3.5 billion. Meanwhile, the rumored support package is around £300 million. That's not a solution. That's a sticking plaster on a broken leg.
If you campaign on the idea that you can turn things around fast, you do not get to turn around 6 months later and say, actually, this will take ages. Please be patient. That is not how political promises work. What makes the situation even more precarious for Starmer is that May elections are rapidly approaching. Local elections in England, plus elections for the devolved parliaments in Scotland and Wales, are scheduled for May. These are going to be absolutely crucial as a barometer of public opinion. And all the indications are that Labour is heading for a drubbing. Polling suggests they are going to lose significant numbers of council seats. They are likely to face losses in Scotland and Wales as well. These elections are going to be portrayed as a referendum on Starmer's leadership, and if they go as badly as predicted, the pressure on him will become immense. This is where things get genuinely fascinating from a political drama perspective. Speculation is already rife in Westminster about whether Starmer could face a leadership challenge if May elections are catastrophic. We are talking about a Prime Minister who won a massive landslide less than a year ago, potentially facing a coup from his own party. That would be extraordinary, but it is not impossible. Labour has a long history of internal strife and leadership challenges. If backbench MPs start panicking about losing their own seats at the next general election because Starmer is so unpopular, they might decide they need a new leader to save themselves. Political self-preservation is a powerful motivator. Starmer clearly knows he is in trouble. This week he told cabinet colleagues to focus on tackling the cost of living and deliver for the whole country. That is crisis management language. When you have to tell your own cabinet to focus on delivery, it means you know people think you are not delivering. It is like a football manager giving a halftime team talk when you are 3-0 down. Everyone knows things are going badly, and now you are desperately trying to turn it around before the situation becomes irretrievable. The cost of living issue is particularly important because it affects everyone. Food prices, energy bills, housing costs, these are the things that determine whether people feel better or worse off under government. And right now, a lot of people do not feel better off. They feel squeezed, stressed, and disappointed that the change they voted for has not materialized in their daily lives. Labour's challenge is that many of these issues are global or structural, not easily fixed by government policy. But voters do not care about excuses. They care about results. And if they are not seeing results, they will punish the government at the ballot box, which is exactly what these petitions represent in advance. What is particularly striking about this wave of petition activity is that it represents genuine grassroots discontent. These are not party political stunts organized by opposition parties. These are ordinary voters, many of whom probably voted Labour in July, expressing profound dissatisfaction. That makes it much harder for Starmer to dismiss. He cannot just say, oh, that is a Tory stirring up trouble, when it is his own voters signing these petitions. It is a genuine revolt from below, driven by disappointed expectations and frustrated hopes for change. The comparison to Liz Truss is unavoidable here, even though the circumstances are completely different. Truss became historically unpopular incredibly quickly due to specific catastrophic policy decisions, mainly her disastrous mini-budget that crashed the economy. Starmer's unpopularity has different roots, more about cumulative disappointment and perceived broken promises rather than one spectacular failure. But the speed of the decline is similar. Both went from election victory or taking office to being deeply unpopular in a matter of months. That is genuinely remarkable and suggests something deeper is going on with British politics, possibly a broader crisis of trust in political institutions and leaders generally. There is also something darkly amusing about the parliamentary petition system in this context. The government created this system to give people a democratic outlet, a way to raise issues and force parliamentary attention. And now it is being used as a weapon against the government itself, forcing Parliament to debate whether to effectively sack the current administration. It is democracy eating itself in the most British way possible, through properly formatted online petitions that meet all the bureaucratic requirements. Even revolution in Britain requires filling out the correct forms. The fact that this is a third petition calling for an election since July is also significant. It suggests this is not just a momentary spike of anger, but sustained, ongoing discontent. People keep starting new petitions because they want to keep the pressure on, keep the issue in the news, keep reminding everyone that this government lacks public confidence. It is a form of constant, nagging accountability that governments find very difficult to escape from. Starmer's response strategy so far has been to largely ignore the petitions and focus on governance. That might be politically wise in some respects. You do not want to dignify every criticism with response, but it also risks looking arrogant or out of touch. When hundreds of thousands of people are demanding your removal, completely ignoring them can make you seem dismissive of legitimate concerns. It is a delicate balance between appearing strong and appearing deaf to public opinion. The international context also matters here. We are seeing populist uprisings and political instability across Western democracies. Governments everywhere are struggling with low approval ratings, insurgent opposition movements, and voters who feel alienated from traditional political systems. Britain is not unique in this regard. What is unique is how quickly it has happened to Starmer. Most leaders get at least a year or two of honeymoon period before things go south. Starmer barely got 6 months before the wheels started coming off spectacularly.